The subject today that we will be addressing is our contemporary slavery, client status, and dependency relationship, or dependency relations. Now, the caption itself relates to the status of nation states as have emerged on the planet in denial of any ideology of their own that can influence or bring about true independence on any count, be it from the perspective of sociology, religion, or economics. But most pertinent is the economic aspect of dependency that nation states have to or are subject to in this day and age. As we see the planet today, we see about 183 plus nation states, and we see that in their midst there are two powers, three powers that have a dragnet around them, and these nation states are under a factor of siege for economic usurpation. Of course, this is being done on the basis of a variety of economic tools like hard currency, like regulatory laws, like ratings, and on the sociological count, we have things like human rights, and we have things like transparency, and we have things like aid, and for all practical purposes, this is an extension of what the world has been previously seen nearly 150 or 100 years prior to the present times, in the form of naked colonialism, crude and brutal colonialism. It is therefore important that we have an insight, a sense of realization into what we are suffering with, almost in a state of slavery, and what should be the alternate route, what are the solutions. In my previous talk, and a number of them, this realization has been amply dwelled upon, discussed, pronounced. Today, we will go and examine one nation state, i.e. the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, as an example to understand the demerits and the menacing predicament of the status quo. Pakistan was founded on an ideological basis. And when we talk of ideology, we, especially the Islamic ideology, our mind and focus immediately shifts to the picture that has been presented to us by a variety of clerics who represent a variety of brands in Islam. But from the perspective of ideology, we have to see and view the message for the social paradigms, for the economic paradigms, for the paradigms for governance, for the paradigms of jurisprudence or the philosophy of lawmaking. But most, we have to view it from the perspective of the establishment of equity and equality in a social order, which would imply material justice, or the establishment and the invoking of material justice. So here we have a nation state founded on the basis of an Islamic ideology, named as the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. And then we go and we see the condition, in total disregard of our history or the history of our ideology, we view our present status. What we see is that we are in the following of an economic order, with an alibi that we have to coexist with other nations of the state of the planet. This economic order that we are following is based on subservience and our status as a client state, because the efficacy of our natural resources or our human resources are not being assetized to be able to present to us any form of independence, autarky, or flexibility in taking economic decisions. Then we have our doors open from the perspective of ideology for the inference of a variety of branded Islams, while Islam negates sectarianism or any other, in any case, the proliferation of various sects. From the sociological paradigm, or from the sociological perspective, we see another feature, which is the protection of feudalism that has taken the predominant lot of the population as their captive. So in the corridors of power, in the corridors of the parliaments that are meant to legislate, we have stakeholders who surface on the basis of the strength they have over pockets of population within the country. Now this small lot of feudals apparently at war with each other, are collectively protecting a status quo that enslaves the predominant lot of the population to imperialism of one sort or the other, be it from the west, be it from the east, be it from the north, irrespective. And this particular structure, the current status quo, is the principal evil in all the miseries that inflict a population of 221 million people that inhabit this nation state. This is no small a crime, and therefore, judiciously speaking, the principal writ is the demolition of the current structure, because the nation state has ample natural resources and human resources to stand up on their feet and swim respectively within the community of other nation states on the planet. We must discuss solutions. We must discuss the way out from this dragnet which is strangulating the predominant lot of the population. We see that the ordinary man on the road does not get labor compensation which befits a human for subsistence, be it clothing, be it shelter, be it healthcare, be it education, be it putting food on the table, nourishing food on the table. So where is the wealth of the nation going? Who are responsible for this and why? This is the narration which has been there successively in all my talk. And when we would like to address solutions, we have to essentially come up with a recipe. How we disband, evict, the hold on the population by a bunch of a few hundred people, follows next. Primarily, the solution rests in assetizing your natural resources for the benefit of your human resource and mandating a government in office to effectively implement this. I have proposed that both these factors, natural resources and human resources, when coupled together, should be made into a product, and land should ideally be the principal source of revenue to run a government. When you encapsulate human resources with natural resources, the product which comes to your hand, which becomes available, are urban units, are cities which have a corporate status, and they are then managed and governed at the highest level of material technology that is available to mankind, be it for sewerage, for water, for schooling, for healthcare, for hospitals, for the ecology, and for the availability of food which has to be consumed by the population. Once the product is in place, and to simplify the concept, it is proposed that you take a population of, say, 60,000 people and you contain them within, say, 500 acres of land, and you make all the facilities for their subsistence available in a vertical form within that particular city. That city is run just like a public limited company, quoted on the stock exchange, managing their own funds. They pay taxes, and this land revenue becomes the basis for the federating government to run their affairs. The rest of the land, be it available for mines, for agriculture, for industries, for tourism, for defense, is segregated and becomes an additional source of land revenue to support a government. As I foresee the creation of this particular product will proliferate into other nation states, particularly sharing the same ideology as ours, and will become a new form for the management of populations and for the management of money. It will be contrary to the present map or the present structure that we see and confront, where the colonists created nation states because they could not handle the vast territories of land, nor could they handle the vast extent of population. And then they picked on forces that could implement, retain, uphold their agenda by an economic tool for the medium of exchange. You will run your nation state, but you will run it with our money. Now, that is the underlying hidden agenda in the predominant lot of nation states as they do exist. So the sooner a population realizes the monkey business that is going on, the sooner they will get rid of the monkey on their backs. In sociology, monkey syndrome is an ailment. People look up to prosperity, people look up to developed areas of the world to become part of it. And they prevent indulging into the replication of that progress and development. That indulgence only comes about when the dependency on alien money, alien medium of exchange is negated, done away with, forsaken, and you close your doors on it. We have very good examples of countries that were devastated after the Second World War, razed to the ground, who stuck to their ideology and depended predominantly on their own human resource to reconstruct, rebuild, and resurface as powers to reckon with. Pakistan is no exception, and ironically, this realization has yet to set in despite 7 decades plus of our existence. It is therefore imperative that if we have to throw slavery out of the window, and we have to stand up on our own feet, that we dismantle the current structure of the state made up of feudals and the servants of the state, be they from the army, from the judiciary, from the civil bureaucracy, and we reconstruct our structure for governance based on our ideology, particularly from the perspective of the economic limitations that the ideology has to offer. We cannot, must not remain in a state of dependency for any particular power on the earth, irrespective of the cost, irrespective of the suffering, irrespective of the journey it will take to achieve that particular objective. We need to view another issue which plagues this nation state, and we are using this nation state as an example for all to follow. And that issue revolves around the significance of labor compensation. Unless the medium of exchange is based on a tangible, and we have addressed this earlier on, the factor of debt will not be gotten rid of. And labor compensation on a level that is comparable to the best in the world will again not be achievable. Industrialization, investments, enterprise will never see the light of day. To be able to adequately compensate your labor input, your dependency on borrowing, your dependency on matching your one unit with an intangible alien unit is foolhardy. Therefore, the fiscal decentralization is absolutely a must. Today, the people of Pakistan are in a state of duress where hundreds of heads of taxation have driven them to a point of near starvation, because the labor compensation isn't adequate to meet up with the cost of consumption or their need. It is a pathetic journey that this country has lived with for 7+ decades, and it is time that this structure or the retention of the status quo be demolished. The laws on sedition, the laws on subversion, the laws on contempt, all notwithstanding. To sum up this entire talk today, the point which is being put across is the end of slavery, which is a self-acquired dilemma, by the reversion to our ideological paradigms on economics, sociology, material justice, social justice, and above all the decentralization of fiscal management almost at grassroots levels, so that we, the people, as principal stakeholders, have a government of our choice, duly mandated for our welfare and security at a cost that has to be paid to them as servants in the larger context. A dependency relationship is certainly a bad choice, and it will favor, and this is food for thought, will favor the powers that be on the planet today, that can be referred to as powers that are imperialistic, or they are referred to as superpowers, that a commonwealth of countries, of nation states with a common ideology should surface. Thank you very much.